Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. My name is Amanda Beebe. This is Rich Truitt. We are the co-chairs alongside Sarah Lambert of the GCAC, the Garnet Club Advancement Council. So we promote athletics in the alumni community here on campus. Rich and I had a joke before that we are, on a relative basis, the least important people here in this room tonight, but I just want to take the moment to say how honored and privileged I am to be in the company of everybody who's being inducted here tonight, the players, the coaches, the staff, everybody who's involved in making this community a community. I graduated from Swarthmore 2015. I played golf all 4 years. And in the interest of being a student athlete, I studied history at Swarthmore. And the study of history is academic to most, but the study of history taught me and emphasized the importance of patience, empathy, and the ability to listen. And I think that those are a lot of underrated qualities, but it's a night like tonight that is the remembrance of why we listen, why we pay attention, and why the stories and the legacies of people who we play alongside or came before us are important and are worth listening to. So thank you all for being here tonight, and here's my partner, Rich Truitt here.
Thank you, Amanda. My name is Rich Truitt, the class of 1966. Once upon a time, the captain of the baseball and basketball team here at Swarthmore. I am privileged to be here tonight to celebrate all of the wonderful inductees who are going to be honored tonight. Before turning to a couple of words about them, I just would like to reflect a little bit on a couple of items. First of all, the turnout tonight is just amazing, and it's indicative of the support, the growing support for athletic programs and wellness programs here at Swarthmore College. I know that Swarthmore is committed to a path to have the caliber of athletics to be equal to the caliber of academics at this wonderful school. So I'm happy to be a part of that and to honor some outstanding folks who have really contributed to the athletic program. I do want to cite a few lessons that I learned, and I've tried to carry them with me, and they have served me well. Lessons that I learned on the field and the court, the lessons of teamwork, of leadership, of discipline, and of sacrifice. And those lessons have served me well throughout my adult life, my career, and also through my family. I learned a lot about how to impart some of those things to my children and grandchildren now. So what I would like to do is, first of all, I would like to honor all of those who are being inducted tonight. You're going to hear a lot more about each of the individuals and teams and what their accomplishments were. But I want to say that I'm particularly honored to be connected to two of the folks who are being recognized tonight. First of all, my basketball teammate, Dave Rowley, the spark plug of the 1965 men's basketball team. Dave, are you here? And also another connection, Octavius Tave Holland went to the same high school that I did. And I am so thrilled that the contributions that Tave has made over the years as equipment trainer, as trainer, and as unofficial coach extraordinaire. Tave had an impact on my life and on my athletic career here at Swarthmore. He knew so much about all sports, and he imparted that knowledge to each of us who was willing to listen. And I'm so thrilled that Tave is being honored tonight. At this point, I would like to ask Amanda to come up and join me. And we're going to share a glass here and invite you to join Amanda and me in raising a toast to this year's inductees to the 2023 Swarthmore Athletic Hall of Fame. I'd also like to recognize in this same toast the families and friends and teammates who have supported these individuals during their time at Swarthmore and afterwards. So a toast to you as well.
Cheers.
So with that, congratulations to all. And it is Amanda and my honor to be able to introduce the president of Swarthmore College, President Val Smith, who has a few remarks. Val.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Rich. Welcome, everybody. I'm so pleased to be able to be with you this evening. So tonight we celebrate 6 exceptional individuals who've been named to the 2023 Garnet Athletics Hall of Fame. The honorees span several decades, and their contributions range across our athletic programs. They include a high-scoring soccer player, an exceptionally committed assistant athletic trainer and equipment manager, a celebrated tennis coach, a fast-pitch softball champion, an All-American lacrosse player, and a record-making goalkeeper. Our Director of Athletics, Brad Koch, will share their individual stories, but let's give them all a round of applause now. And keep your hands together, because I'd like you to join me in applauding the coaches, trainers, and administrative staff team in athletics led by Brad, as well as the alumni, parents, faculty, students, and staff who volunteer their valuable time as part of the Garnet Club Advancement Council. So let's applaud them as well. So as a liberal arts college, here at Swarthmore, we're committed to educating the whole student and providing co-curricular opportunities that support learning and development across a variety of dimensions, preparing students for productive, engaged lives. Athletics is fundamental to that mission and plays an important role in the lives of many Swarthmore students. Through sports, our students learn how to collaborate with others, develop determination and resilience, and cultivate lasting habits of health and wellness. As many of you know, Swarthmore is in the midst of a strategic planning process. As we prepare for the future, I look forward to renewing our commitment to athletics and well-being at the college more generally in a way that will benefit generations to come. But tonight, we're here to honor these extraordinary 6 individuals who embody the core values of Swarthmore. Congratulations to all of them and to their families. So again, thank you all for being here, and enjoy your dinner and the program to follow. Thank you.
It's a very special night. It's the induction ceremony for the Garnet Athletics Hall of Fame, class of 2023. So let's have a hand for that. I get to kick things off. I'm Steve Sell, class of '89. I played tennis here for 4 years for Mike Mullen, who's one of the honorees tonight and very deserving of that. And I came to Swarthmore because in 1985, Mike wrote me a handwritten note, which is, they used to do that for some younger folks, but it really made an impression on me. And I still have that note. And what I was so impressed by was the tennis team was incredible at that time. 90% of the note was about the experience that I was going to have at Swarthmore. And being a student athlete here and what I was going to learn. When I came to campus, I met Bob Barr, who many of you know recently passed away, but what a legend on this campus. He was our academic advisor. I met Rob Hollister in the economics department. I chose to become an economics major, and I've spent my life trying to take what I learned here to really impact and make healthcare better in terms of the choices patients make and the choice physicians make. So this is a very special place for me, and I wanted to give back, and so I've recently joined the board, and I'm really glad I did. I want to thank the people who organized tonight. A lot goes into this. The Garnet Club, who we heard from earlier, thank you to them. I want to welcome all of the athletic alumni who are here. Some of you are already Hall of Fame inductees and very deserving of that. And then you heard from President Smith. She's so great. I just like to call her Val, but her vision for what she wants to see in this college is inspiring. And then I'm going to introduce Brad here in a second, and the athletic department has put a lot into tonight. The vision that Val talked about, which is at the best liberal arts college in the country, how can we create this, be a leader in terms of mind, body, and spirit, I think is really inspiring. The athletics department and celebrating student athletes is a big part of that, and we're going to do that tonight. But this building we're in is the Matchbox. This building was built in 2015. It's for all students. It's really around wellness and fitness. If you hadn't been over the dining commons, that just opened up last year. Nutrition is really important. But part of my message to you tonight is there's more to do. That field house next door it was old when I was here. It's now, I think, 93, 95 years old. And so we're going to replace that at some point, and we need to replace the Cunningham Field. So I have your emails. I'm going to call you. All right? So just that's part of the message tonight. And thank you in advance for your support around that. So I think that's really what I wanted to hit. I want to say to the 6 inductees, Tave's not with us, but all of you are really deserving. Each of you did tremendous things in terms of athletic accomplishments, but what I saw from the student-athlete leaders when I was here was what they gave back to the college and how they made that community stronger, and each of you definitely did that. And so with that, let me introduce Brad Koch. He's the Marion Ware Director of Athletics, and he's going to run the program tonight. So Brad, come on over.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I would like to first just start by thanking Stephen, Val, who had to depart a little earlier, Rich and Amanda, for all the great words, kind words this evening, and for your ongoing support of Swarthmore athletics and our student athletes. What a turnout. I mean, this is really quite the evening tonight. I'm really enjoying the conversations, seeing everyone here to come together, celebrate the remarkable careers of these 6 inductees. And it really is a testament to the love, the support, and adoration that they have, that you have for these inductees. So really is a nice evening, and I hope you continue to enjoy it. So I am honored to serve as your inductee of these 6 individuals for our 10th Athletics Hall of Fame class for 2023. As Stephen said, I am the Marion Ware Director of Athletics, Physical Education, and Recreation. So I have several favorite quotes, and I'd like to share one of them with you now. The spirit of sports. The spirit of sports gives each of us who participate an opportunity to be creative. Sports knows no sex, age, race, or religion. Sports gives us all the ability to test ourselves mentally, physically, and emotionally in a way no other aspect of life can. For many of us who struggle with fitting in or our identity, sports gives us our first phase of confidence. That first bit of confidence can be a gateway to many other great things, said Dan O'Brien, former American decathlete and Olympic gold medalist. That spirit that Dan is referencing here, to me, really captures the essence of sport, along with one of its chief benefits, what it takes to overcome. Every former student athlete, coach, and administrator in this room, especially our inductees, can identify with adversity, perseverance, resilience, and confidence. The adversity that comes with the demands of being a student athlete and the balancing act that pivots them between their scholastic pursuits and the training of their bodies and athletic skills. The perseverance to embrace repetition and grow from each failure and success. The resilience to ignore the doubts and doubters, to stay the course because in the end, it'll all be worth it. And the confidence to reach higher than anyone else, take the winning shot, throw a complete game, outcoach your counterpart, and develop, then achieve, a roadmap to sustained success. Tave, David, Kelly, Catherine, Megan, and Michael, our inductees, use that spirit to overcome, excel, and shine brighter than most here at Swarthmore and beyond. We are here this evening to celebrate the spirit with them, along with families, friends, colleagues, and mentors, and hear about the paths they chose and how sport led them to this moment at the passage or gateway of greatness. So congratulations to each of you and welcome to the Hall of Fame. Another round of applause for our inductees. Before we get started, I would like to introduce and welcome back to Swarthmore the following members of our Hall of Fame classes. Jim Harvey, Hall of Fame class of 2019, 1974 men's soccer. Danielle Duffy, inaugural Hall of Fame class of 2012, field hockey and track and field. Samuel Dagger, Hall of Fame class 2019, men's soccer team. Dave Doherty, Hall of Fame class of 2019, 1974 men's soccer team. Madeline Frazier Cook, Hall of Fame class 2017, women's soccer and women's lacrosse. Lynn Schofield, Hall of Fame class of 2016, 1996 field hockey team. Chuya Hornberger Lane, Hall of Fame class of 2016 and 1996 field hockey team. Samantha Straub, Hall of Fame class of 2016, 1996 field hockey team. Erin Pearson, Hall of Fame class of 2016, for a member of the 1996 field hockey team. And Laura Leischer, 98, Hall of Fame class of 2016, 1996 field hockey team. Congratulations and welcome. I would also like to introduce and welcome members of our president's staff in attendance tonight. Rob Goldberg, Vice President for Finance and Administration. Liz Wood, Vice President for Advancement. Stephanie Eyes, Vice President for Student Affairs. Jim Bach, graduate in 1990, Vice President and Dean of Admissions. Tomoko Sakamura, our Provost and Dean of the Faculty. And Beth Glassman, Vice President for Human Resources. Thank you, Beth. Thank you all for your ongoing support. We have several members of our Garnet Club Advancement Council joining us here this evening. Special thanks for all your stewardship and commitment to our student athletes and programs. Please also welcome many of our student athletes who will be around later this evening during the unveiling ceremony. Some of them will be in uniform. Finally, I would also like to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for all of their efforts and commitment to the selection process, which is no easy task. Okay, we have an impressive group of inductees tonight going into the Hall of Fame. I would like to first share a few notable highlights of this well-deserving group, and then you will hear from our presenters who were chosen by our inductees to say a few special words on their behalf. The first inductee is posthumous, the late Tave Holland, equipment room and athletic training. Support staff are often considered unsung heroes in a department like ours. They stay behind the scenes, rarely receive much of the glory, but play a pivotal role in operational efficiency and success, a role that Tave embraced during his expansive career here at Swarthmore. While he made a significant impact on impact on our student athletes through administrative leadership in the areas of equipment room, operations, and athletic training services, which I know we'll hear about this in a little bit, perhaps Tave's biggest contributions was mentoring, advising, and advocating for students of color who played for Swarthmore. David Raleigh, lacrosse, soccer, and basketball. Dave was a three-sport student athlete, excelling in soccer, basketball, and lacrosse, where he made the most impact becoming a two-time All-America selection. Playing three sports at the collegiate level is not easy, and I am sure challenged him in ways many of us cannot imagine. Dave remains active in the Swarthmore College community as one of our loudest supporters, often attending our home games throughout the year. Kelly Wilcox, field hockey and lacrosse. A two-sport athlete at Swarthmore, Kelly left a lasting impression on both the field hockey and women's lacrosse programs. As a goalkeeper in field hockey, Wilcox set records for shutouts and goals against average at both the program and conference level. She helped lead the field hockey team to 2 Centennial Conference championships and the program's only NCAA tournament appearance. Kelly has also led from the sidelines, serving as a coach in both field hockey and lacrosse since graduating from Swarthmore. Catherine Riley. Wow. Catherine's stats simply jump off the page. During her time at Swarthmore, she clearly distinguished herself as not only one of the most prolific players in program history, but also earned the status of being one of the greatest athletes to ever represent the Garnet in any sport. Think Shohei Ohtani before Shohei Ohtani. Today, Catherine is a respected member of our faculty and helps our softball team as an assistant coach, where they will look to defend their conference championship this spring. Megan Colombo, women's soccer. A 3-time National Soccer Coaches Association of America all-region selection, Megan made a significant impact on the women's soccer program during her time at Swarthmore. She garnered all-Centennial status in all 4 seasons with the Garnet, while earning Player of the Year honors during her senior campaign. She currently ranks 6th all-time in points, 75, and goals scored, 31, while tying for 8th in assists at 13. She's also one of only 3 players in program history to collect multiple hat tricks throughout her career. Wow. Michael Mullen, men's tennis coach. Serving as the head men's tennis coach for 40 seasons, Michael retired as one of the winningest coaches in college tennis history, with 441 career victories and 27 appearances in the NCAA Division III National Championships. At the helm of the men's tennis program, he led the Garnet to 3 national titles, 7 MESCAC championships, and coached the 1985 NCAA Division III National Doubles Champions and coached 39 All-America selections. On a personal note, I've had the privilege to get to know Michael a bit during my 3 years here at Swarthmore, and he has been very helpful with me, providing historical context, telling a story, some of which very funny stories, which is appreciated, or simply making a point to check in. His Hall of Fame character is always on full display, and surely a hallmark of his leadership during his time on the sidelines and in the classroom as a former faculty member. So congratulations to you all. And thanks again to all here in attendance who tonight that played an important roles in the athletic, academic, and personal development of these extraordinary inductees. I will now be calling up our inductee presenters, starting with, we actually have co-presenters for our first one, and that's Joanne Holland Carter, Tave's granddaughter, along with Jim Harvey, who I mentioned was our former Hall of Fame, or Hall of Fame member as well. So please welcome Jim and Joanne to the podium.
Thanks, Brad. I met Tave Holland 49 years ago as a 17-year-old freshman in the heat and humidity in late August of preseason soccer tryouts in 1974. Since 1978, when I graduated, I've lived a kind of a non-linear life, leaving the comfortable confines of the East Coast and migrating to Washington State and Alaska. And during that time, I've met a number of truly remarkable people, ever since. For example, 5-time Iditarod champion Rick Swenson, George Atla, the legendary sprint musher in Alaska, who had the nickname of the Shishmaref's Cannonball. I was a handler in the starting chute for the Iditarod for 2 years for a world-renowned explorer named Colonel Norman Vaughan. And he was a dropout of Harvard University who then went on a very famous Admiral Byrd exploration of the South Pole in 1927 and 28. And he was still running the Iditarod in his 80s, which is amazing. So all of these people, including the last person, because I'm a soccer guy, Cliff McGrath, who is a legendary coach. I know, Todd, you know that. His team appeared 9 times in national championship games. They won 5. And he is, I think, second all time in victories at 597 collegiate victories. So, Todd, you got some more work to do. Anyway, all of those people, as remarkable as they were, none of them hold a candle to Tave. Tave, put simply to anybody who was fortunate enough to cross paths with him, was what I like to call a critter. So before having the great honor of introducing Tave, Holland's granddaughter, to you, I want to spend a few minutes to share the story of how Tave impacted my life as an athlete, a young man, a father, and a grandfather. I was the #1 ranked goalkeeper in Westchester County, New York, and as a consequence, I received a lot of recruiting attention from schools like Dartmouth and Brown and UConn, et cetera. But I chose to go to Swarthmore because I fell in love with the academic excellence for which we were so well known. Ironically, Swarthmore didn't even know that I played. And so in July of that year, I get this call up in Vermont. My mother says, hey, you got a call from somebody from Swarthmore. And it was Red Willie Stetson, otherwise known as Willis Stetson, the athletic director, but also the head soccer coach. And he said, hey, it says here that you were like the #1 goalkeeper in Westchester County. Is that true? I'm like, yeah. Well, were you thinking of trying out for the team? And I said, yeah, I thought after freshman orientation I would. He said, I don't know, come on down. So I did. Now, when I arrived, I needed to get my ankles taped. And so I believe Sam Agger, who's sitting in the back of the room there, told me a story about Tave, and he said, warn me that no matter how high you shave your leg, Tave is going to find a way to get tape on some hair, right? So I shaved all the way up to my knee, and he still managed to do it, right? But that was Tave. So went out on the field, and it was 100 degrees and 95% humidity for a week. You guys remember that, right? Tave had a giant jar of salt pills, and we were supposed to take 20 a day to avoid heat stroke. So if there are any cardiologists out there, I'd be really interested to. Anyway, there were 2 senior goalkeepers who I did not know had been riding the bench for 3 years because there was a really good goalie named Greg Diaz who preceded me and played all 4 years. So when we got there, guys were taking practice shots before the practice started, and neither one of them would let me in the goal until Stetson said, hey, let the freshman in the goal. So I'm thinking, okay, this is good. I'm a good keeper, right? The first guy to shoot on me was a guy named Johan Wapplinger from Peru. And Johan was a fellow freshman. He and I served as co-captains of the team our senior year. And he was sitting in the corner of the penalty box and put a ball in the far upper V, which I, of course, dove and broke myself in half trying to get something on it. And I got a finger on it, but it went in. And of course, being a guy, you can't show any pain, right? So I pick up the ball and I roll it back and I say, yeah, nice shot. I bet you can't do that again. And he goes, boom. I go, oh, wow. Second guy to shoot is Mac Todman. And Mac is a Hall of Famer, not only individually, but also as part of our team. Mac hit the ball with such force that it actually it was like a wicked topspin in tennis. It went up and then down and bounced a yard in front of the goal line, making it virtually impossible to gauge as a goalkeeper, right? And he hit it so fast, I was like, oh my God. And it was so hot that I had rolled my sleeves up, right? And I got my arm on the second one, but it kind of stung. And when I looked down at my arm, the stitching of the pentagon was sort of in my forearm. And I'm thinking, oh my God. The last guy to shoot was Gary Albright. And Gary is like one of the silkiest players you've ever seen, and just ran really smoothly. And it didn't even look like he was hitting the ball. When he hit the ball, it just explodes off his foot and keeps on rising, hit the top of the net. And I swear if that net hadn't been there, I think it's still rising today. I mean, this guy just thundered the ball. So I'm sitting here and I'm going, oh my God, I suck. I think these people are really good. Little did I realize that all three of them are on the Swarthmore College All-Century team. And so I really was down, and I went back into the training room, and who's there? But Tave, right? So let me give you a visual representation of Tave. So Tave is like 5'5" in platform shoes, right? Like he's not a tall dude. Big pot belly, he's got a mangled eye, and he's chain smoking. So Brad, I just wanted to find out if you had a trainer who was a chain smoker, would that go over today? Because I didn't think so, yeah. And we used to joke because Tave always had about an inch of ash on his. He smoked Carlton Light menthols, right? Yes, he did. Okay, and he always managed to get that inch of ash in the tape job that you went in there for. But anyway, and he had a hat off to the side, and so I'm sitting there feeling sorry for myself, and Tave is very slowly cutting the tape off, and then he says this to me. He goes, "You know what, Harvey? You're not anywhere near as good as you think you are." And I'm like, great, now the humiliation's complete, right? Like I suck. Now this guy I don't even know tells me I suck. So, Tave, however, ever the master of comic timing, waits about 30 seconds, and then he says this, "But you know what else?" And I'm in my 16-year-old feeling sorry for myself voice, like, "No, what?" And he goes, "You're a hell of a lot better than those other two guys." And I'm thinking, huh. So I said, "Well, what am I supposed to do about it?" And this is the only time he's looked at me, and he's looking up and he's squinting through the smoke kind of coming up in his eye. And he goes, "You know exactly what to do." So that night, after going to dinner and then walking all the way down to ML4, I was the only guy there, right? And it was so hot, like no AC. Do they have AC in ML now? No, I didn't think so. Yeah. The college has all of this money in the endowment, but no AC in Miller. So anyway, I'm down there and I have a little 4-inch fan. It takes me about 3 hours to get to sleep. And then I just said, you know what? I'm going to go out tomorrow and I'm going to win the job or I won't. Now, we had a goalkeeper coach named Ed Townsley. And Ed was like 6'3", and he was, you don't ever say a retired Marine, but he was a Marine drill sergeant. And I knew he was going to make us do some really sadistic things the next day. But I just thought, okay, it's going to hurt, but it'll just hurt for a few seconds. And sure enough, he had us diving forward and punching the ball on our chest and then diving backwards, which, for anyone who's never done that, it's an unnatural act to dive backwards. And I went out there and won the job. And as a result, I spent the next 4 years playing every minute of every game except for 2 halves, one due to injury and one when I had a disagreement with the coach my senior year as a captain and he benched me. We did lose the game, by the way. But Tave was clearly an equipment and a trainer, but he was also as brilliant a motivator and a coach I've ever encountered. He saw that I was down emotionally and feeling sorry for myself, so he did what he needed to do. He kicked me in the butt, and he did what every coach wants to do, which is to get their players to give them their best. And so he put another way, he taught me to ask myself, well, why not me? Why shouldn't I win this job? And that year in the 1974 run to the NCAA final, our team asked ourselves the same question. Why not us? So what was it about Tave's critterness? First, Tave was a proverbial wise ass. I mean, it's not surprising to me that his high school nickname was Popeye, taking his blindness in one eye and making the best of it. He also played loosely with the truth, often taking advantage of the naivete of students that he came in contact with, like me. For example, Tave told me that his eye was the result of playing football before they had face masks and he got cleated in a game, right? I think the truth is it was a forceps delivery, right, okay. Tave was also famous, or might I say infamous, for his love of pina coladas. And I remember hearing from my friends who played lacrosse that there used to be an annual scrimmage game between the men's and the women's lacrosse team in the spring using women's sticks and women's rules. Tave was responsible for making the pina coladas that were intended to be served after the game was over, but somehow they always managed to make it onto the field by halftime. And according to Maurice Cairns, a fellow teammate of ours, and he was a captain of the lacrosse team, the pina coladas seemed to make for some very interesting second half play. Renee Atkins of the advancement department remembers when Tave used to come in, she worked at Provident National Bank, and he came in weekly to deposit his check and always cracked a joke. So whenever I talk to anyone who knew Tave, a smile instantly appears on their face, right? He had always this impish grin on his face when he told you a joke or poked you in the way that you just needed to be poked to change your attitude. He had this uncanny sense of knowing how to make you smile when you had a bad day or a stressful day, and he not only helped me to learn how not to take myself so seriously or my circumstances so seriously, but it has informed my coaches. What's that?
Is this thing moving?
I don't think so. We're not in California. There's no earthquakes. Okay. Sorry, where was I? Yeah, so it informed my coaching style, my refereeing style, my parenting style, even my grandparenting style. I believe that Tave's true genius was his ability to face whatever the unvarnished truth in any situation, such as his own physical reality was with his eye, pick the positive side of it, tell you the truth about it, and give you the strength to face it with humility and a grin on your face. Now, I know that I'm not alone in my love for Tave and his role that he had in my life. Tave had that kind of impact on scores of Swarthmore athletes, men and women, during his 50 years of service to the college. What I didn't realize is that some of his wisdom came from his own athletic excellence. I recently had lunch with Rich Truitt, who you've met tonight, out in Portland, Oregon, who went to Tave's high school, Darby High School. And he showed me an article about Tave Popeye Holland winning the annual rivalry game by returning a punt 99 yards for a touchdown and then kicking the extra point. And in all of the conversations with fellow Swarthmore athletic alums and teammates, no one ever remembers Tave talking about his athletic, achievements. To me, that shows the kind of class, integrity, and leadership that is sorely lacking in our society today. And we who knew him and loved Tave were fortunate enough to have experienced it firsthand. So, with that story of Tave and his role in the lives of Swarthmore athletes, especially athletes and other Swarthmore students, I now have the great honor to introduce Joanne Holland Carter, who will share with you Tave's family's perspective on not only Tave's 50 years of service to the college, but also Tave's wife, Ethel, who also worked for the college for 50 years.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to take a moment to just present a bird's eye view of the honoree, Octavius Wesley Holland. If I had to use one word to describe my dad, it would be overcomer. You can see from the pictures displayed that he was presented with a major handicap as a very young child. Family folklore has suggested that this handicap of one eye was a result of an accident at birth. Imagine going through life as a child, coping with this disability. Maya Angelou quotes, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." His ability to overcome this handicap turned into a positive. His athletic ability was showcased despite his personal issue. My daughter and I have concluded that the strong name that he possessed came from Octavius Cato, a Philadelphia civil rights activist who was shot and killed in Election Day violence in Philadelphia. The spirit of Octavius Cato demonstrated itself in Octavius Holland as a dominant force in his life. Early years spotlighted his athletic prowess in virtually every sport. His 99-yard touchdown to win the championship for his high school, his track ability, which garnered him a scholarship to Cheney State Teachers College, and his remarkable baseball ability. He went on to be recruited to the Derby Phantom Athletic Club, one of few Negro League semi-pro baseball teams in the Philadelphia, Delaware County area at that time. Let's fast forward to his hiring by Swarthmore College. Swarthmore has continually been instrumental in his life as a young adult forward. The administration of the college guided him into the purchase of his first artificial eye. His steady climb at the college was witnessed by others. I myself was what I call a field house brat. At least 4 of 7 days a week, I would accompany him to go lock up the field house, wash uniforms, string rackets, and anything else that needed to be done. My job was to run around the track and tire my little silly self out. But I'm so grateful for these occasions because I got a front seat view of his love of athletics, his dedication to Swarthmore, and his concern about the general welfare of every athlete at the college. More often than not, he would provide wisdom, guidance, and general friendship to the athletes that he encountered, and all in a puff of smoke. Although he loved each sport offered at the college, his favorite, hands down, was baseball. He looked forward each year to taking the week-long trip to Florida with the team. It was his opportunity to get to spend time with the team, get into deep philosophical discussions, and pick up a few off-color jokes that he was more than willing to share. He was also an employment trendsetter for the college. Many persons from our hometown of Darby Township were offered employment on a reference from him. His wife, Ethel, worked for the college in housekeeping at Woolman House for 50 years, as well as his brother-in-law, Harold, who he adored, retiring as a supervisor in the housekeeping department. This opened the doors for my cousins, who are here this evening, to be given an opportunity to graduate from Swarthmore College. So as you can see, Swarthmore is in the lifeblood of our family. I humbly thank the college for this honor bestowed my dad. I, as well as the friends and family here this evening, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I know he is extremely pleased with this acknowledgement of his tenure at Swarthmore.
If our inductees can work our way to my left, your right for pictures after the presentation, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to welcome Pac Ress, head men's lacrosse coach, who will introduce David Raleigh as our next inductee.
It is a privilege to celebrate each of our inductees tonight, and I am honored to present David Rowley for the Garnet Athletics Hall of Fame. Dave has an impressive list of accomplishments for his time as a Swarthmore athlete. As a coach, I didn't know this prior, but I was most impressed with the fact that Dave was a team captain in each of his three varsity teams for his senior year. As a coach, that leadership piece, I think, is a little more challenging for a captain than it is for an actual coach, because we can, and I do this a lot, I go and hide in my office, or I pretend I didn't get that text at 10 o'clock at night asking why we didn't get playing time, or they don't like the offense, or whatever the case might be. But a peer leader, a captain, has that, has that nuanced piece where they're a peer, they're taking the classes, they're in the locker room, but there's still that accountability piece that and motivation piece that needs to happen. And team captains, I know we have many former team captains here tonight, can attest to that sort of challenge that Dave achieved at a very high level. Dave is exactly the type of alumnus who I like to see after walking off the stadium turf after an intense game, right? He's always positive. He sort of has a way of encapsulating what happened in a win or lose situation. For me, more losing than winning necessarily, but he's always has a way of sort of bringing some perspective to what just happened on the field. And if you see him in the Mullen Center around town at an alumni event, he's always the same. Extremely nice person, compassionate, and his thought is always, what is the best for the student athlete experience. So I always love seeing Dave as I'm leaving the field after a competitive game. Although multi-sport athletes were more the norm in Dave's era, his achievements were anything but common. Dave was a three-sport standout at Swarthmore and won literally every award imaginable for a Swarthmore athlete. He lettered in soccer, basketball, and lacrosse before the age of NCAA divisions. So we would play traditional liberal arts colleges in the Pendel and the MAC on a Wednesday, for instance, and then a couple days later play against teams that would eventually become Division I institutions. For his Swarthmore efforts, Dave won both the Dunn Trophy as a sophomore and the Quink Trophy as a senior. In the fall, Dave was both a starter and the leading goal scorer for the soccer team all 4 seasons. He's currently tied for 10th all-time in goal scoring for the soccer program, and he earned All-MAC each of his 4 seasons. He's currently a member of the all-decade team for the soccer program for the 1960 through 69 decade. In the winter, Dave was a starter on the basketball team and led the team in assists for 3 seasons. Although it's hard to top Dave's success in soccer and basketball, he had perhaps his greatest achievements on the lacrosse field. He was a 2-time All-American in 1964 and 65. He started and led the team in scoring all 4 seasons and was the most valuable player of the Pendel League twice. Following the 1965 season, Dave was selected to the prestigious USILA North-South Senior All-Star Game. For context, that game has been played continually since 1940, except for 2 years around World War II. When Dave played in that event, like recently there's a professional league. I'm not aware of a professional league. Dave could correct me on this when he played, but recently the best seniors opt out of that game. Still a prestigious award, but it's not as big of a deal. When Dave played in that game, it was an event. Large crowds. Again, it was before the NCAA division, so I looked in the archives. Dave played with and against players from Army, Navy, Maryland, Virginia, and Penn State. So it was truly the best of the best competing in that 1965 North-South game. Dave has devoted over 50 years to making Swarthmore College and Swarthmore athletics a special place. Dave is the first to respond to men's lacrosse alumni emails asking for career mentors, was a 1965 class agent for 15 years, was a member of the Alumni Council, and has served on the McCabe Scholarship Selection Committee since 1980. And for many years coached youth baseball, soccer, and lacrosse in the town of Swarthmore. Additionally, and also very impressive, Dave has done the thankless job of being a middle school and high school lacrosse official for many years. He continues to do so. I always enjoyed when I would go to my son's Springton Lake Middle School games and see Dave on the officiating crew. Right? I knew it was going to be, despite all of the ugly lacrosse and maybe the fan behavior and parent behavior, Dave was going to use his lacrosse expertise his leadership skills to make sure that the focus stayed on the athletes as it should. In speaking with Dave recently about his experiences at Swarthmore, it's interesting how different they were, but how similar, right? The differences would be, I do not have a lacrosse player on my team who could do what Dave did and make the soccer team, or lead the soccer team, make the basketball team, and then become an All-American in lacrosse a couple times. Dave was at a different level than a lot of the athletes that I have at this point. So that's one contrast. The scheduling challenges that Dave faced with the teams that would become Division I institutions. The on-campus recruiting was different. However, Dave chose Swarthmore like our current athletes because of the academic excellence, but his memories were enriched by the competition and the camaraderie, right? And that's exactly why this room fills every year, because of the relationships that we've all had with our teammates. And that is consistent when Dave played as it is now. I'm proud to say that Swarthmore remains in the best possible way an amateur institution. The players love their sport. They dig in, they come down every day and put an incredible effort in like Dave did, but the academic piece is always at the forefront. So please join me in welcoming Dave Rowley to the Garnet Athletics Hall of Fame.
Whoa, how do you top that act? Oh, golly. Pat, thanks for that magnificent introduction. And thank all of you for being here tonight to honor this year's class of inductees into the Garnet Athletics Hall of Fame. This is a dream come true for me, and I'm incredibly thrilled to receive this honor. I mean, you got to realize I'm a guy from Long Island with barely 1,200 board scores in high school, and but fortunately I had 3 brothers that went here, and they instilled 2 brothers. Sorry, and I'm the third. They instilled in me, the love of Swarthmore, and I said, I think I could compete here. And, I had some offers from Maryland to go play at Maryland, but I didn't think, I could get much playing time there because Maryland in those days was a big powerhouse. So this seemed like a great place to be, and it has turned out to be that. Anyway, enough about me. I really have to join Jim in talking about Tave. I'm so delighted that Tave is being honored posthumously tonight. Tave was one of my mentors, too, Jim, and he was like a father to me. And he was the trainer for the soccer and lacrosse teams. And he helped me get through 4 years without missing a game. Okay, and this was 4 years of grinding academics when I didn't get my first A until the second semester of my senior year. And it was in the introductory to psychology. But I got through here. I had like a B minus average, and I got accepted to Harvard Business School. Hard to believe. And I think it was because of a lot of leadership that I got involved with here, and Harvard values leadership, and that's kind of one of the things they look for. But I had to work my ass off up there for 2 years. I mean, incredibly tough. Anyway, so getting back to Tave. you know, I spent a lot of time in Tave's whirlpool and on his training table getting my ankles taped. And when I got married in 1966, after I graduated in 65, Tave and his lovely wife, I think Ethel? Did I get that right? You remember that souped-up Cadillac he used to drive? He and Ethel drove all the way out to State College, Pennsylvania. You know where that is? To be at my wedding and to support me in my wedding. I really love that man. I think of him often. I love, after every time I hit the ball over the goal in soccer, you know, because I used to take a lot of shots. One game I took 21 shots, and most of them went over the goal. And every time I shot a ball over the goal, I'd look over at Tave, and he was going like that. I think he was trying to tell me something. Anyway, on to my next thought. I'm also really thrilled that Mike Mullen is being honored this year. One of the things I do in my spare time, you're not going to believe this, is to serve as the captain of the Idle Hour Tennis Club's senior men's team. And guess who plays on my team? Mike! Mike grew up in Springfield and played at Idle Hour, became a state champion in Pennsylvania, went on to Cal Berkeley, became an NCAA champion, I think in doubles, Mike, if I'm not mistaken. No, but, and you heard about Mike's record at Swarthmore. And lo and behold, he comes back here to his roots in Delco and becomes the coach at Swarthmore College. And you don't realize the feet, the shoes that Mike had to step into. We had a coach here called Ed Faulkner, tennis coach, probably the greatest tennis coach of all time, was a Davis Cup coach. Everybody at Swarthmore knows who Ed Faulkner was. Mike had to come in a couple of years after him and look at the record he achieved. Incredible, Mike, and I admire you for that. Anyway, he came back here, went on, coached the team to an incredible number of records, including a couple of NCAA championships, which we haven't had since then. Great work. And it's an honor to be in this class with you. Even though we have our differences sometimes out on the court, you know. All right, where's Kelly Wilcox? Whoa! You're not going to believe this. It's great to see Kelly Wilcox. She'll be coming up here soon. Kelly Wilcox graduated from Sun Valley High School, came to Swarthmore, and I'll tell you how she got here. She's one of the greatest female athletes ever at Swarthmore College. And she's also a McCabe Scholar and is a longtime member of the McCabe Scholarship Committee. And guess what? It was my privilege, because I've been on the McCabe Scholarship Selection Committee for like 40 years. Guess who was on the committee when Kelly came before us in our deliberations? And she got the scholarship. And this is one of the most prestigious scholarships around in this area. And she's now a member of the McCabe Scholarship Committee. We work together, or we're going to get to work together again, Jim. But that's up to you. And Kelly, congratulations. You're the best. Okay, one last shout out. You're not going to believe this, Frank. I would also like to give a shout out to Frank Brown and his lovely wife, Vera. Frank was a few years behind me at Swarthmore. And I call him Swarthmore's first sports information director, because we didn't have anything like that back in those days. And it seemed like Frank stepped into a lot of the shoes that a sports information director would fill. He broadcast football games, broadcast away basketball games, as I remember, on our home radio station, WSRN. You're all familiar with that? And I understand it's going back up this year. Frank, are you going to come back? Come on. All right. Anyway, I am told that Frank and Vera, you're not going to believe this, have attended every single Hall of Fame dinner since its inception 12 years ago. And it's a thrill to have you here tonight, Frank. And I can't wait to see you guys early in November for our first Garnet home basketball game, when we gather up in the stands at the same place every time and have a good old time. Thank you, Frank. Love you. Okay, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about what men's athletics were like back in the 1960s when I was on campus. Because I'm kind of the oldest guy here, I think, in this class, and I could give you a sense of kind of what it was like when I was here, okay? First of all, and this is pretty significant, there were no NCAA divisions back then. Think about that. In soccer, we regularly played Princeton, Penn, Navy, Lehigh, Lafayette, all of which are NCAA Division I teams today. Interesting. In basketball, we played Penn, again, Drexel, and Delaware, which are now Division I programs, right? And get this, in lacrosse, listen carefully now, we played Penn, that's the University of Pennsylvania, for you who don't know what Penn is. The Quakers, remember them? The Quakers. We played Princeton, Penn. No, I'm sorry. We're in lacrosse now. We played Penn, Penn State. That's that big university out there in State College. Remember that? I've scored a lot of goals on Beaver Field. Delaware, Drexel, Lehigh, Lafayette, and Loyola of Baltimore. You ever heard of Loyola of Baltimore? It's a Division I school, usually ranked in the top 10 today. And all these guys are Division I teams today. So here's one other little statistic. In my senior year, our lacrosse team took a spring trip down south. And we didn't take a bus or anything or an airplane. We all got in our cars, those of us who had them, drove down there, and we beat Washington and Lee, Duke, let that sink in a little bit, and North Carolina. And we had a great team that year, and we wound up being ranked 12th in the country that year. So, end of that segment. I want to talk a little bit about recruiting back in those days, because there was very little of it that was really going on. Our teams were kind of composed, right, Rich? Whoever showed up and maybe had played their sport in high school or prep school, if we were lucky. Rich played at Darby Colwyn and on a state championship team, as I recall. And, in football, we used to, we had two guys, in lacrosse, I should say, we had two guys on the team, me and another guy from Haverford High School who had ever played lacrosse. But we played football then. We had a football team. And we used to, remember this, Wames? We used to recruit guys from the football team. And Johnny Waymiller he was a guy that came from St. Louis, and he didn't know what lacrosse was back then, but he picked it up really fast, and he helped train these big brutes from the football team into good lacrosse players. Rich Yeager, Layton, Kaufman, right? And we put this all together. And that was the way we handled it, recruiting back in the day. So we did well in soccer and lacrosse, having winning records in all 4 years. Johnny Wendmiller was part of that. He used to play wing when I was an inside. I completed a lot of passes to Johnny. Basketball was a different story. We never had a winning record, and we won 3-15 in my senior year. So I'm sorry. Mea culpa, Landry. Basketball was never a big sport here. Anyway, one more point, and then I'll get to the end. We also played, this is interesting, we also played a lot fewer games back in those days. 10 games per season in soccer and lacrosse versus an 18 in basketball. Today, the teams play 15 games in soccer and lacrosse. I think I'm right about that. And 25, right, in basketball. You guys are professional athletes over there. And that doesn't even count conference playoff games, Landry, and NCAA tournament games, of which there have been many over the last few years, thanks to Coach Kosmalski. You want to stand up and... Coach Kosmalski. Coach Kosmalski has raised Swarthmore basketball from absolute oblivion to the pinnacles of United States Division III NCAA basketball. We've been ranked number 1 in the last couple of seasons. Last year, what did we finish? 3? Whatever. Keep up the good work, Landry. All right, I'm getting close to the close. But I wanted to just pass a few anecdotes on to you that I thought you'd get a kick out of, that sort of represent the highlights and lowlights of my career at Swarthmore. I think you all probably remember that great ABC show called Wide World of Sports. Anybody remember that? All right. Remember that wonderful introduction that they had to each broadcast that talked about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat? Remember that guy, the skier that came off the thing and hit on the roof of a building next door and all? I'm sure you've all seen that. So I'm going to develop this a little bit. So remember, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. For me, the greatest thrill of victory was in my senior lacrosse season when we beat Penn 12-7 out here in Clothier Stadium. Penn was the Ivy League champion that year. Think about that. And was coached by Avery Blake. Does that name ring a bell with anybody? Probably. Who was a former Swarthmore coach. He'd been hired away by Penn a few years earlier, and we kicked his butt that day. And here's a coach that's now in the U.S. Lacrosse Hall of Fame. That, to me, was an incredible upset. All right, we're getting to the agony part here. You'll get a kick out of this. This is a classic. The greatest agony for me was in my sophomore year when we played Penn. It's always Penn in basketball over here at the Lamb Miller Fieldhouse. Penn was nationally ranked that year. At halftime, they were ahead of us by, it must have been well over 30 points. And get this, the Penn coach, I forget who it was, McCluskey maybe, or somebody back then. He had his starters, his starting players, go into the locker room, shower, change into their street clothes, and come out and sit on the bench for the second half. Has any team ever done that to you, Landry? And they wound up beating us like 93 to 48, something like that. And get this, that was the last time that Swarthmore ever scheduled Penn in basketball. You can understand why. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this thing up. I just wanted to say in closing, playing sports at Swarthmore allowed me to fulfill my athletic potential, because I certainly wasn't going to be a Phi Beta Kappa or a Fulbright scholar or any of that stuff. And for that, I'm ever grateful, and I thank you for listening to my prattling here, but I love you all. Keep supporting Swarthmore Athletics, and God bless you all. Thank you.
All right, at this point, I would like to welcome Karen Borby, head women's lacrosse coach, who will introduce Kelly Wilcox.
Thanks, Brad. Hello, everyone. First of all, congratulations to the class of 2023. What a class it is. I'm so happy tonight to introduce Kelly Wilcox. Kelly was a two-sport athlete, as you've heard, who was a regional All-American in one sport and a national All-American in another. You all have the bio, so I'm not going to list Kelly's accomplishments, but I do want to mention that Kelly still holds the records, college and Centennial Conference, as a field hockey goalkeeper in goals per game allowed and shutouts. As incredible as that sounds, what's truly amazing is that Kelly wasn't even a goalkeeper until her junior year. In field hockey and lacrosse, Kelly was a starting defender, and a darn good one, although we wouldn't let her come past the 50-yard line in lacrosse. Once, okay. But when she was a junior, the field hockey team needed a goalkeeper, and Kelly stepped up. And stepped up is an understatement. Kelly dominated. Trust me, you didn't want to mess with Kelly in a field hockey goal cage. She had a competitive spirit like no other. I am sure there are still players from the 90s who still cringe when they see tie-dye. After her playing days, Kelly became a coach, and she carried that competitive spirit into decades of coaching. Kelly was my assistant field hockey and lacrosse coach, and she was also the head field hockey coach until she moved up to the dean's office. When I look around the room, I see so many people who played with and for Kelly, along with her family and friends. And I know they are just as happy as I am, not because of her athletic accomplishments, even though they are amazing, but because of who Kelly Wilcox is as a person. I've known Kelly since she was 17. When I first met her, she was quiet. I don't think she knew how to talk at that moment. We got her to talk, though. And she was a shy first year. I had no idea the profound impact that she would have in my life. In fact, Kelly has had a profound impact on so many lives. Her teammates, all around, will never forget her competitive spirit, her ability to shoot, and her one and only goalie dances, one of a kind. Her student athletes will never forget her compassion, her character, and her depth of caring. Her friends will always know her loyalty, her passion, and her selflessness. And her family, well, you are also blessed to have Kelly as a daughter and a sister. And Ellery, you have the most amazing mom. Kelly loves with fierceness that is unmatched. If you have ever been hugged by Kelly, you know this to be true. I know we're here tonight to honor Kelly for her athletic and coaching accomplishments, but I also know that those who are here for Kelly tonight, as well as many who could not be here tonight. We are all so stinking happy because no one deserves to be honored more than Kelly for just being Kelly. Kelly, we love you. It is my honor to introduce Kelly Wilcox as a member of the 2023 Swarthmore College Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Karen. That introduction, mostly thank you for the transformative role you've played in my life. I'm keenly aware that I'm standing here today because of you, and I'm a part of a generation of female athletes that benefited in countless ways from the trailblazing work and struggle and leadership of athletes and coaches like you. It was an honor to be coached and mentored by you, to coach alongside you. Most importantly, to walk through the world with you as a friend. Thank you. You've been there for me through it all. And on behalf of the hundreds of women you have coached, congratulations on just wrapping up your 30th year as the head lacrosse coach at Swarthmore. What an achievement. Thank you to the selection committee for this honor, and congratulations to the other inductees. What an amazing group to be a part of. I'm humbled and deeply grateful. And as someone who gravitated towards team sports my entire life, this honor is shared by countless teammates, coaches, administrators, friends, colleagues, and family members. This has never been and never will be a solo journey, as illustrated by the people in this room. Thank you for being here. I was fortunate to play many sports growing up, play 2 varsity sports at SWAT, teach, play, and coach internationally, coach field hockey and lacrosse at SWAT, and now have the honor of coaching my daughter's teams. How does one even begin to pick the moments, the memories, the mentors that there's so many to choose from? I'd like to just highlight a couple, if I may. Those who know me the longest, family members and lifelong friends, Shannon, Jay, and Dennis in the back, who are here tonight, know that getting involved in athletics at an early age was a defining moment for me. As a very, very shy child, and apparently first year, with a speech impediment, I was often retreating to corners and struggling to express myself. And then I stepped onto the soccer field for the very first time, with my dad as my coach. Something about stepping onto that field transformed me. I felt like I could express myself, pour my heart and soul into something, and contribute to a group in a way that had not been accessible to me before. It was where I first learned that actions and effort can speak volumes, and how important it is to show up for the people counting on you. I was hooked and never looked back. As my family can attest to, the next 10 years was an exciting mix of sports, opportunities, travel, and friendships. I can't thank them enough for supporting me, driving me, sacrificing to make things happen and possible, and for cheering me on. Thank you, Mom, John, Kim, Amy, Alicia, Frank, and Chris. And although my dad's no longer with us, I think he was even more excited than me when I became the head coach at Swarthmore. It meant he could cheer me on from the sidelines for just a few more years. As my family can attest to, the next 10 years, those who have played with me, worked alongside with me now, they're here tonight, or were on the teams that I coach, know that I try to be careful and genuine with my words. I've benefited greatly from supportive coaches, mentors, teammates, teachers, professors, friends, colleagues, and supervisors. Drawing from these lessons, I continuously strive to find moments to support, elevate, connect, and encourage others whenever possible. Words can sometimes be a spark, and sometimes they can ignite a fire. I want to share an exchange with a teacher who later became a coach that lit a fire in me. I sometimes call it my first feminist manifesto. And I saved it all these years. November 29th, 1988. I, Kelly Wilcox, am declaring independence from being called a bad player in male sports just because I am female. I am just as good as, and sometimes better, than many of the males in my community. I am tired of being discriminated against in sports because I'm a female. I loathe, he said that was a good word in 8th grade, I like that, being picked last for a team because I'm a female. I also loathe, I guess I like that word, not being able to play at all because I'm female. I feel athletes should be judged for their ability and not for their sex. I will never give in to these stubborn males. I will just have to try my hardest to show them that I'm just as good as an athlete as they are. I will never give up until I have equal rights. my teacher wrote, when in the course of athletic events, one person named Kelly Wilcox will be a shining light in the athletic endeavors because in 8th grade, she refused to give in to those so-called dominant males. Just wait, her names will be all over the sports pages. Mostly, I just wanted to hold an essay with an A+ on it while on Swarthmore property. Right, Dave? Because that never happened. Participating in athletics at Swarthmore as a player and as a coach, providing with so much, but 2 words that come to mind are clarity and confidence. There are moments from my athletic career that I draw on consciously on a regular basis, and so many others are just woven unconsciously into my way of being. As Karen mentioned, when I became a goalie, I had a few days to learn the position. It was quite a switch from my midfielder role. My coach at the time didn't overwhelm me with tactics. When I asked him what to do, he simply said, and Annie knows, "Stop the ball, love." I said, okay. That was about it. As a lacrosse player, I had a similar focus. Often this translated to get the ground ball, no matter who was around me. Sometimes, this included my own teammates, right? Sorry. And a few refs along the way. What a gift this was, well, for me, not the refs. When life gets really complicated, I try to identify the next step, the simplest action, the singular focus. When I was battling an unknown cardiovascular disease, it became take a breath. When I was trying to write a dissertation, it was write the next sentence. I had to find my focus. I've been afforded so many opportunities in my life, but some came with a lot of unknown and possible risks. I'm not sure I would have pursued a head coaching position at a young age, lived abroad twice, started a family, or taken chances personally and professionally if I had not been a student athlete at Swarthmore. At least once a week, I remind myself that I learned how to play a brand new position in just a few short days, and I was able to play lacrosse for one of the most talented coaches in the entire country, and that both turned out pretty well. Most importantly, I learned that you don't shy away from hard things, especially when others are counting on you. You step up and you step in. Finally, I had the opportunity to help the women's lacrosse team last spring. Thanks, Karen. It was a joy to be coaching at the collegiate level again at my alma mater. I was chatting with a couple of the players, and they were curious about how we possibly navigated campus without cell phones or social media. They just stared at me. I tried to explain the joy of hall phones, but it was too far outside their realm of comprehension. And then they asked me about my teammates and what that relationship was like. Without even taking a breath or hesitating for a moment, I shared that they mean the world to me. I could tell by their expressions that I caught them off guard a bit, by my decisiveness and my tone. But my teammates always have been, and always will be, the core and rock of my athletic experience. We experienced success as a team because of the deep trust, care, and pride that we brought to the program and to our friendships. I recognize that not everyone has this experience, which makes me even more grateful. We were there for each other on and off the field, and that has not changed over the last 25 years. The ups and downs experienced on the field are now the moments of joy and sometimes sadness of life. We don't hesitate to turn to each other, and every single person shows up, and they don't run from the hard stuff. Thank you. I know, because I experienced it firsthand. It's much easier to take risks when you have teammates for life right next to you every step of the way. Thank you for being here tonight and for all the moments that have spanned the last 30 years. I want to close with some very insightful words that were shared with me recently by the light of my life, my daughter, Ellery Wilcox. She attends a wonderful school, and they have a tradition where they close out the year by sharing a personalized phrase about every single student in the school. She recently turned to me, unprompted, and shared what she felt my saying would be. In my humble opinion, it captures the essence, hopefully, of what it was like to be a teammate or a player of mine, and what it felt like to be on the opposing team. Please join me in welcoming Ellery.
A flame, giving warmth to people, but a bonfire on the field.
Thank you again. To be surrounded by so many loved ones is truly magical. Thank you to all who made this moment possible.
Okay. We'd like to call up Jen Moore, assistant softball coach, who will introduce Catherine Riley.
Thank you, Brad. Good evening. My name is Jen Moore, as Brad just said, and I've been coaching softball for over 20 joyous years, and I'm entering my 17th year here at Swarthmore. I also work full-time here as the Course Content Accessibility Manager in IT. Thank you to the GCAC, Advancement, the Athletics Department for hosting us and for your work in putting this event together. Congratulations as well to all the other inductees. There's kind of a bit of a theme with them, right? Many of you, that I'm noticing anyways, and that's that dedication to Swarthmore that goes beyond sports. And today I'm honored and joyous to introduce Catherine Riley, or as our more recent softball players call her, Dr., Professor, Coach, the legend, Catherine Riley. As a first ballot entry into the Swarthmore Athletics Hall of Fame. Tonight, I'm charged with giving you all a perspective as to Catherine's impact on Swarthmore. I'm on Swarthmore College softball. I feel like I have to say the stats because they're quite impressive. On the offensive side of our Swarthmore softball record book, Catherine is offensive. She's in the top 5 in nearly every hitting category. She has the most career home runs and the most career hits. Oh, but you thought she was a pitcher. And why wouldn't you? She is a giant pitcher, pictured on the side of Tarbell Pavilion. Catherine dominated from the circle. She tops the career leaders lists in wins, starts, complete games, innings pitched, and strikeouts. And she finished with a 1.89 career earned run average. She also pitched 4 no-hitters, 2 of which were in Centennial Conference play. In fact, we were back at our Sinus this year, winning our first ever Centennial Conference championship. And I had this jolt of a memory of Catherine as a player. During Catherine's senior year, we were also facing our Sinus, and it was this hot, miserable day. This time for both Catherine and their pitcher, it was their last time facing each other, and beating Ursinus would launch us into the championship game. On that ridiculously hot day, I remember Catherine's cool. She was focused. It was like she was in this fugue state. She was sitting on a bucket in the dugout, staring out into the middle distance, nowhere, and no one talked to her. I mean, Jeanette might have said something, but Catherine knew, and we knew that Catherine knew what needed to be done. Catherine performed. Catherine showed up. She put up. In fact, she put up only the second Centennial Conference Championship no-hitter in Centennial Conference history to beat Ursinus and to get into the championship game. So when we came back to win the championship this year, it felt so right, so joyous, that it was at Ursinus and against Ursinus, and that Catherine was an integral part of the team. Catherine is a great teammate who truly shows up. She performs. Whether you're a part of her family, her friends, the softball team, the chemistry department, the faculty at Swarthmore, you want her on your side because she will be there. She will show up. She was every other Swarthmore team's biggest fan when she was here as a student, and even today, you'll see her in the bleachers, you'll see her at the pitch, cheering on the Garnet. And I see it today as she dedicates time to her research lab students, not just in the lab, where you obviously have to dedicate time, but in hosting these homemade dinners for them. I've been in meetings and in conversations where she refuses to stay silent, speaking up for herself or for others who aren't even in the room. I've seen her be brutally honest, even to the point of exposing her own vulnerability, taking risks, growing, learning, and teaching. If you're lucky enough to have Catherine as a friend, she will tell you when you need to be better, to do better, and I am truly grateful for that. Catherine truly gives all of herself to a project, a team, a goal, a relationship, and that is who she is, and that's being recognized. Catherine is now up for tenure here at the college, but has taught nearly 1/10 of our student body in any given year. She's been recognized to serve on requested to serve on committees at the college by the president herself, and she has. And in fact, this year she was chosen by her faculty colleagues to be on one of the 2 standing elected committees. As a junior faculty member, this is the kind of respect that Catherine commands. All this to say, Catherine Riley clearly does more than just show up. And it would be nice to say that any of us deserve any credit for Catherine's success and legendary status. But the truth is that Catherine would have succeeded anywhere she went. We've just been lucky to have her show up at Swarthmore in 2006 and continue to show up as our professor, our colleague, and our coach. A joyous congratulations on this well-deserved honor, Dr., Professor, Coach, the legend, Hall of Famer, Catherine Riley.
Thank you, Jen, for the generous introduction. Thank you to the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for recognizing me with this wonderful honor. And thank you all for being here tonight to share in this joyous celebration with me and my fellow inductees. So I feel like I maybe have to qualify why we keep saying joyous. As we were making our run in our first ever NCAA regional appearance as a program, our student athletes, I'm not really sure why, but they adopted joyous as their word. So every post-game interview that they did, they would, be asked, how was the game? Oh, it was a joyous day. A joyous day at the ball field. So we were kind of given an assignment to work that into our speeches tonight. So we're just listening to our student athletes here. So, the one thing Jen didn't mention in her remarks, and that never made it into any write-up about my days on the field, is that Jen was actually my outfield coach for a short period of time. I think maybe it was my junior year, and I'm not sure why, but our head coach at the time thought it would be a good idea to try me in the outfield. And anyone who's been around the game knows the rule of thumb for an outfielder is first step back. Okay, so we're on spring break, and as I remember it, it was the first pitch of the first inning of my first game in the outfield. And if that's not the case, that's fine. It makes for a better story. So, first pitch, first inning of the game, my first start for the Garnet in the outfield. I'm in right field, and this towering fly ball is coming right at me. And you guys probably know where this is going. I took about 3 steps in on a ball that was clearly over my head. Eyes as big as like saucers, complete deer in headlights moment. I probably let out an expletive and then just sprinted to the fence to retrieve the ball. And I almost threw out the hitter at third, almost. And so that was my first and last inning in the outfield for the Garnet. In all seriousness, I've struggled to really process my feelings about this event and what to say to you all tonight. I felt very caught between whether this night was about who I was then or who I am now. And perhaps that's because in some ways, who I was then feels both distant and close. I have to imagine that's due in large part to the fact that I never really left Swarthmore. I mean, technically, I left this physical place for a few years, but you all well know Swarthmore never really leaves you. Swarthmore has been my home for over 17 years, and the athletics community in particular has been my closest family. Then and now, you have all cheered on my successes in the classroom. As a student, I remember the Renees, at the time that would have been Clark and DeVarney, coming to a lab demo, chemistry lab demo and presentation by me and my lab mate, Lisa Schumacher, who was a women's basketball player at the time. As a faculty member, many of you have attended my lectures on campus, worked with me to support one of your athletes in my course, or even been really generous and shared your athletes' time with me so that they could work in my research lab. Then and now, you all have cheered on my successes on the field. in the most significant game of my career when we finally beat Ursinus on their home field to advance to the Centennial Conference Championship game for the first time in program history. I'll never forget how many familiar faces were in the crowd. And if you ever get to go to Ursinus, their softball field, it's very poorly positioned. They put their softball field at the bottom of a hill, so it gets flooded all the time. But from the mound, you can look up on the hill and see the crowd. And so I'll just never forget in those like really big moments at the very end of my career, seeing how many coaches and fellow student athletes were on the hill cheering us on. And of course, in a full circle moment as a coach this past spring, again, as we're facing Ursinus in the conference playoffs, of course, as Jen said, this time in the championship game, the hill was lined with the Swarthmore athletics community. And of course, now that we have sort of the modern age, those who couldn't be there in person were following along online, and the support from past teammates, coaches, colleagues, and friends was simply amazing. Most significantly, then and now, this community has inspired me. I was and am constantly inspired by my classmates, teammates, students, and colleagues who are endlessly brilliant, creative, passionate, and deeply empathetic. I was and am inspired by the drive, determination, and resilience of the Swarthmore athletics community as we work to reach the highest level of achievement in our sport. I was and am inspired by the values of this community and the collective work and shared sense of commitment it takes to uphold those values. My time at Swarthmore in the classroom and on the field has been truly joyous, always rewarding, and completely transformative. And I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity this community has provided me to foster two of my passions, chemistry and softball. Before I close, there are a lot of people that I would like to thank. First, I'd like to thank my parents for all of the sacrifices they made so that I could compete. For all of the sacrifices they made so that I could compete at this level, and for their unconditional love and support. I thank my teammates who pushed me on the field and in the classroom every day, who share in some of my most cherished memories and have become lifelong friends. I thank my coaches, Renee, Patty, Jen, and Jeanette, who helped me reach a level of play I never imagined possible. You know, before I came to Swarthmore, I had actually never hit a home run. A funny story, I hit my first one over spring break. I called my mother to say, I hit a home run, and she said, put the coach on the phone. She didn't believe it. When I first arrived here, I by no means was what I would call a dominant pitcher. So my coaches really helped me strengthen my skills, sharpen my game IQ, and foster a love for the process. I thank the Swarthmore athletics community, all of the coaches and administrators who were and continue to be consistent supporters of our program, the athletic training staff, especially Marie Mancini and Allison Hudak, who helped me through a few injuries, and Allison, who has become a lifelong friend, the equipment room managers, Ray and Larry, who always made sure we were ready to play and always took the time to ask us how our day was going, the facilities and EVS staff who maintained our fields and indoor spaces, and the dining services staff who kept us fueled for practice and games. Finally, I'd like to congratulate the other inductees, Megan, David, Kelly, Tave, and Mike. What a legendary class. I am truly humbled to be inducted alongside each of you and to share this tremendous celebration. Thank you again to the selection committee, to all who planned and prepared for this event, and to all of you for being here this evening.
Okay, this time I'd like to welcome Todd Ankaitis, women's soccer head coach, who will introduce Megan Colombo.
Got a little prop here. All right. So I also tried to take a little different approach to this. I have some video footage that I'm going to ask if you could just hold off for just 1 second before you hit play. But I always have attended these events and wanted to see those folks perform. So I thought today we would give you a chance to watch Megan in action. But before you start it, let me just read this from a press release in 2008, because it sets up the second or third slide here. With a save in the shootout under her belt already, Lauren Walker and her teammates anxiously watched as sophomore Megan Colombo stepped up for the final penalty kick. With ice both on her shirt and in her veins, she finished the penalty kick, giving the team its second consecutive ECAC championship crown. So if you could please hit play. Megan and her teams actually went on to win 3 straight ECAC championships, outscoring their opponents 15-0 in that run. In 2010, she was named the Centennial Conference Player of the Year and the ECAC South Region Player of the Year. She was a 4-time All-Conference forward, and she graduated with broken records in career goals and points. She was an impact player on the attacking half of the field. So much so, she was also named 3 times to the National Soccer Coaches Association All-Region team, back in a region, as many have referenced in the past, with historic programs the likes of Messiah, Johns Hopkins, and the College of New Jersey. She helped the program to its highest ever regional ranking at the time, and if she had been on one of our more recent teams with some success in the NCAA tournament that we've had, she certainly would have been named an All-American several times over. She helped our program build belief. Belief in the foundation of this program that for those future NCAA tournament appearances were important as we evolved as a program. She started in 69 games and was a consummate teammate. Always excited to help the team, but humble in her own accolades. I have 3 quick anecdotes that I could tell from time about Megan beyond her well-documented hat trick against Leading Ursinus. You'll see one of those goals here. I'll spare her the embarrassment of everyone hearing the story about how the promise of a few chocolate chip cookies was all it took to get her to score some goals and a come-from-behind victory over McDaniel. But one I'll tell came in her first season with a simple question at practice. And I don't know if you remember this, Megan, but she asked me, "Coach, women can do bicycle kicks, can't they?" My response was, "Of course. Why wouldn't they be able to?" She said, "I don't know. A guy from the men's soccer team said girls can't do bicycle kicks. He's an idiot." I concurred. So fast forward now to the ECAC championship that year against Catholic University. We were out in western Pennsylvania, when in the second half, a ball was crossed in and Megan got a little bit in front of it. She turned like out of a movie and bicycled it on frame. The keeper made the save that day, but I remember a tremendous sense of pride when BJ, the opposing coach, broke from the intensity of this championship competition, called my name from the sidelines. I turned and looked at him, and he mouthed the words, "Todd, oh my God." I just shrugged my shoulders and was like, gave him a look like, yeah, she's on my team. That's Megan Colombo. She's awesome. The other is highlighted in this video when I challenged everyone on the team one day not to get off the bus until they truly believed they could beat the #1 team in the country, College of New Jersey, they were facing on the road. The 4-3 victory for us was only the second home loss for TCNJ in over 10 years, and the first time they'd given up 4 goals in any game in at least 6 years. Thankfully, Megan took me seriously and got off the bus that day, along with all of her other teammates, Laura included, who's here tonight. Because Megan had 2 goals and an assist in that game, which was a very definable moment in this program's history and will forever live in its lore. Congratulations, Megan. You are a very deserving recipient of this honor. Welcome to the Swarthmore Hall of Fame. And I just wanted to say that I have a few cookies here that I owe you.
Thank you, Coach, for the kind words. I do remember the cookies now that you mentioned it earlier, and I don't think I ever got the cookies, so thank you for that today. And I just also wanted to say congratulations to the other inductees today. It's been really humbling to be a part of this class, and I've really enjoyed hearing all your stories today about your time at Swarthmore and how special this place is to you, as it is to me. And I feel silly for saying this because so many people were here before me for much longer, but it's hard to believe it's been 15 years since I first set foot on campus. Like most first years, I experienced imposter syndrome and was worried that I was the admissions mistake that we all talk about during orientation week. I remember being very intimidated and feeling like I didn't quite belong here or deserve to be here. Like many first years, I was far away from home and without my family for the first time. Being a member of the women's soccer team was the best part of my time at Swarthmore. Through the team, I made lifelong friends that felt like family and found my place on campus. And that truly made this place feel like home. With the support of my coach and teammates, I feel like I grew up and I found myself here. Swarthmore and the women's soccer team were instrumental in shaping the trajectory of my life, and I will always be grateful for the years I spent here. I'm so honored to be inducted into the Swarthmore Athletics Hall of Fame today by Coach Todd Ankaitis. Coach was a huge part of my experience here, guiding and challenging me from both an athletic and personal perspective. He fostered a competitive athletics environment, which we all know is important as an athletic program, but for Coach, he really always prioritized our development as people and put that first above all things. I'll always be grateful for the generosity and kindness that Coach Todd and his family showed me during and beyond my years at Swarthmore. I also really want to thank my teammates. I feel like my time here, I earned a lot of recognition because I was a forward and I had the statistics, scoring goals, but I definitely give a lot of credit to the people that came before me, and I want to give a special shout out to the other 5 girls in my class that played all 4 years with me. Laura Bolger, who's here today, and then Kirsten Peterson, Kelsey Klein, Liz Mills, and Hannah Perkey. I think just in talking to Todd about our program, I don't think that we were the best class, and I don't think that we were, our records, we broke records that had stood for, I think, 20 years before us. I broke the scoring record. I think Kirsten Peterson broke the assist record, and those records have been broken many times since then, and I think that makes me really proud because I think we came in and we were early in the program when we first started becoming very successful, and it's been really nice to see the work that we put in at that time and how that the program's grown. And when we were playing, we were hoping to make the conference championship, and the team makes the NCAA tournament every year, and it's such an honor to me to be part of that legacy. So I am happy every time the record gets broken and for those that come after me. I also want to thank the entire Swarthmore Athletics Department and the selection committee and my family and friends who made the long trip. A lot of people made a long trip to be here today. So always thankful for your support and for today and for always. I'm truly honored and humbled to be a part of the Swarthmore Hall of Fame, Athletics Hall of Fame, and to be part of this community. So thank you.
Okay, last but certainly not least, I'd like to bring up Andrew Ward, faculty member in our psychology department, who will introduce Michael Mullen.
As a W, I'm used to going near the end of things. As you heard, I'm Andrew Ward. I am a professor of psychology. I'd like to assure Dave Rowley I teach intro psych, and we no longer give A's, so don't have to worry about that. Also the son of an alum, my dad, Alan Ward, class of 1950. And most importantly, I'm a tennis player extraordinaire. Mike, stop laughing. I would venture that inducting Michael Mullen into the Swarthmore Hall of Fame is the biggest no-brainer since the college decided to name the tennis center after Michael Mullen. And by the college, I really mean alumnus Jerry Kohlberg, with whom Michael arranged a doubles tour across Europe soon after Michael, arrived at the college in 1978. A little bit of baptism of fire there, Michael. Clearly, Jerry understood what we in psychology call the illusion of choice, since if he had actually been given the choice, there is no way Mike would have allowed that tennis center to be named after himself. He's way too modest. But then he's way too modest to tout most of his accomplishments. You heard earlier tonight how many games he won. He didn't even know that number, by the way, because we were quizzing him before this event. Other accomplishments he probably wouldn't share with you: when he was admitted to UC Berkeley, that was in October. In September, he was playing in the US Open, 1967. By the way, yeah, pretty good, huh? Pretty good. But by the way, I was also accomplishing something pretty special in 1967. I was being born. Sorry. Michael also took games from his UCLA rival, somebody by the name of Jimmy Connors. Anybody hear of him? Anybody know who that is? Yeah, Mike took games from him, right? Yeah. But perhaps most importantly, and the primary reason we're all here tonight, is Michael coached the Swarthmore men's tennis team for 40 years, 27 appearances in NCAA playoff tournaments, 8 NCAA trophies, including 3 national championships. Wow. Wow. Speaking of those teams, Vivek Verma, class of 1988, and Jeff Krieger, class of 1986, they couldn't be here tonight, but they did want to share some memories that they had gathered on behalf of Swarthmore tennis team members basically over the past 40 years. And don't worry, Mike, I censored it. They write, "Dear friends of Mike Mullen and Swarthmore Athletic Hall of Fame community, as you honor Mike Mullen tonight, a few things must be shared directly from the players. He recruited, counseled, taught, mentored, cajoled, inspired, loved, laughed with, and yes, even in the old days, competed against." I didn't know that. They write, "Mike was a terrible team bus driver. He would lose his bearings if Jimi Hendrix was playing on the radio. Mike was as fierce a competitor as Jimmy Connors and a physical specimen with thighs like Robert Newhouse, no doubt developed by years of Mike's infamous crossover drill," which, by the way, he still engages in. I've seen him do it. Mike's pursuit of his academic passion, they write, and PhD journey was inspiring to his players. When Mike once left the team after a massive win in Chestertown to attend classes at the University of Delaware, the team celebrated his decision, listening to rock and roll while safely driving back to Cunningham Fieldhouse. Mike once lost the bus keys in a toilet in Bloomberg, Pennsylvania. By the way, I'm actually going to return to the theme of a toilet later in these remarks, so stay tuned. They continue, "One person stands bright and brilliant who steered Mike to this career milestone. Without Marcia Mullen, Lord knows what might have befallen Mike Mullen." They go on, as Mike taught so many of us, the secret to life is a good partner. Thank you, Marcia and Mike, for your steadfast friendship over all these years and for those magical years in your midst at Swarthmore College. Mike, in your own unique way, you truly brought out the best in all of us, both on and off the court, and tonight's honor is well-deserved and a long time coming. Much love and congratulations. Very nice sentiments from some team players. Yes, yes. You know, I'll add that since those days of commuting to the University of Delaware, Mike has added a second PhD. He also has a master's degree in a whole different field. He speaks at least 4 languages. His first doctoral degree is in sociology. The second, which was almost accidental, was in history. Born of his habit of lifelong learning. If you talk to Mike, he has something interesting to say about almost any topic. Finally, what happened in that case, the graduate program at Temple, where he was sort of taking courses, kind of his hobby, they said, "Mike, you've taken all the courses, just finish already and write your dissertation." So he did. And that dissertation, by the way, has now led to a book, available on Amazon. Here it is. Yep. On the Irish diaspora community in Philadelphia. He's also a leading researcher on historic Italian communities, both in their home country, especially in the Abruzzo region of Italy, where he likes to travel, and also comparing them to historic communities here in Philadelphia in the 1890s. Really a fascinating comparison between those two communities. In 1973, Mike tells me he taught tennis on an Israeli kibbutz founded by Argentine Jews, where the desert heat was so intense, his lessons on a concrete tennis court, mind you, would begin at midnight. I'd love that schedule. That works really well for me. I like that. Mike was once ranked 35th in France, and just this summer played in tournaments in Italy and Switzerland, despite recently undergoing partial knee replacement. But you know what? That's not really a surprise, because here's what Steve O'Connell, professor of economics, wrote to me earlier today about Mike. On Mullen Center Court 1 about 15 years ago, Mike beat me and a guy on my Oberlin College team in doubles. I think Mike was playing with Bob Inman at the time. Not so notable, except that Mike came on the court with a burst appendix, as he learned in the emergency room later that day. Not the front end of appendicitis, mind you, a burst appendix. He didn't know what was causing the pain and the fever, but heck, first things first, right? Gotta win that tournament. I note there, by the way, that Steve mentioned Mullen Center Court number 1. When I would play with my partner, Mike was so generous, he would actually clear the team off one of the courts so that Dan Grodner and I in the psych department could play together. And I will note that that was court number 3. Now, Lynn Schofield, professor of math and statistics and also an honoree in 2016, she can do the math for us, but I think 3 is greater than 1. I'm just saying. Well, that theme actually of extreme generosity runs through every aspect of Mike's life. Soon after he received his first PhD in sociology, he was invited by the department here to teach a course, which he did on sport and society. And for 27 years, he taught 1 or 2 courses a year for the department, often having students over to his home for seminar-style classes. And man, the students loved that. Not the least of which because, as you may know, Marcia, who in addition to playing several roles at the college, including Asian student advisor, working in the communications department, serving as advisor to the Evans Scholars, is also a professional caterer. That was pretty sweet. Mike also had regular faculty gatherings at his house, and I have been the beneficiary of that hospitality on many occasions, for which I am so grateful. But I gotta tell you, here's the thing I did not know until this week. All those courses Mike taught for 27 years, he did that for free. No additional salary. None. Heck, I made sure the college was picking up the cost of my dinner before I agreed to appear here tonight. And Michael is doing all this for free, for the love of learning and working with students. Mike approached his teams the same way as his classes, with a generous pedagogical approach, treating team practices more like seminars, exchanging and back and forth with the students, focusing on the minute details of how to hit the shots or how to handle the pressure of key moments in critical matches. Even on his sabbaticals, Mike embedded himself in athletic student study centers, focusing on the scholastic development of student athletes. What a perfect model for a Swarthmore coach and professor. So dedicated, so wise, so kind. But back to the toilet. As everyone knows, October is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Actually, it's not, it's March, but just go with me on this, okay? A number of years ago, Mike was preparing to undergo a routine colonoscopy. And as anyone who's had one knows, the preparation is much, much worse than the procedure. So Mike dutifully engages in that horrendous preparation and only then decides to check the calendar. He had the date of the appointment wrong. As Mike said to me after telling me that tale, anytime you're having a bad day, just think about that story. It could be worse. I've taken great solace in that. Mike, in writing these brief remarks, I made myself 2 promises. I wasn't going to get overly sentimental, and no tennis puns. I'm now going to break both of those promises. Because I want to say, on behalf of your teams, your students, past and present, the alumni gathered here, your colleagues on the staff and the faculty and the athletics department, we love you, Michael. I love you, Michael. Your 2023 Swarthmore College Athletics Hall of Fame inductee, Michael L. Mullen.
Well, Andrew, I'm not always speechless, but at this moment, after that introduction, but Andrew, it's Mullen, it's not Ward getting all the attention, okay? Thank you, Andrew, for that glowing introduction, collective highlights, and for sharing now in public that medical update. That's the last time I tell you anything in confidence. Andrew is a professor, past department chair in psychology, and also something of a tennis player himself. He's in rehab now, but he'll be back on court soon. Andrew will keep court 3 open for you as always, but not court 1. That's the championship court. You have to earn that one. Before I get into my story, and I know it's late, I'll try to make things brief. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge 2 founders of our Sports Hall of Fame. The Hall, like our college, may seem like a storied institution, but is really more a recent organization, the product of 2 athletic directors who were able eventually to convince a rather reluctant administration to enshrine our athletic heroes, its exceptional graduates, into a formal hall, a house of memory. David Smoyer, athletic director from 1978 to 1986, tried to put it together in the early 1980s, but the college just wasn't ready. Adam Hertz revised the idea, brought it back into consideration in 2007, and began an experiment that worked as we are all here this evening. Adam Hertz did everything. From seating arrangements to setup, emceeing the entire event, and finally the cleanup. So our college invites its student athletes, men and women, to excel and compete in their sport, train hard, and finally to test the self on the fields and courts. It deserves a place of remembrance, an historical record for others to consult, examine, and feel inspired by. And so David Smoyer, Adam Hertz, thank you for your pioneering efforts. And now Brad. And now Brad Koch, you and your dedicated coaching colleagues have become the curators of this distinguished archive. So those of us privileged to reach the podium tonight as fresh inductees have probably thought about the past, especially those individuals who helped along the way, teachers, coaches, students, and parents, and of course, naturally, so have I. And I turn to my parents, Richard and Peggy Mullen. My dad, like so many of his generation, returned home from intense combat in World War II, intent on living a life of peace and stability, securing opportunities he never had for himself, and for his children. And so we settled in Springfield, Delaware County. It's not far from here. Mom and Dad joined the local tennis club, Eidelauer, which Dave Rowley has already referenced. This was not a fancy country club or a cricket club with manicured lawns. Eidelauer had plenty of clay courts, 14, sometimes more dirt than clay after a heavy rain, a modest clubhouse, a concrete backboard where I practically lived, very affordable dues with a membership drawn from the ordinary people of the community. It was, in essence, a tennis club of the people. And our teacher, Don Richardson, a great player with classic form and a high school math teacher, taught us kids how to master the often difficult strokes of tennis. And so this cohort of tennis youth at the club, my associates, we learned how to play the game. Competed first among ourselves, and then outside in USTA tournaments, and then we started to win. And we won a lot. Let me also recognize my college coach, Dr. Chet Murphy, an intellectual of the game and author of instructional books. Chet taught me and my classmates at the University of California, Berkeley, how to play the men's game, and we did. And we went on to win a few matches in the Pac-8. I also want to recognize and deeply thank the many students, faculty, and administrators at Swarthmore College who inspired me during my 42 years to reach high in our life ambitions, especially the students who played inspirational tennis for their school, winning national championships without ever abandoning the sacred principles of a champion: grace, dignity, fair play, and some humor in the face of defeat, as well as the glow of victory. And sure, we won championships, came close in others, but at Swarthmore College, on the teams I coached, it was never completely about the end game, the trophy. It was always a deeply felt and experienced quest for excellence that brought us together as a team, and the resulting lifelong friendships and cherished memories of a sporting life. Thank you, guys. I would be remiss in my role this evening if I not mention the extraordinary contributions of Jerry Kohlberg, Swarthmore class of 1946. Jerry was a tennis player, generous benefactor to our small college, supplying support for its educational needs and special projects, many involved with athletics. His gifts were of the heart. He had a fondness for Swarthmore as an ideal born of the conditions of his matriculation, World War II. When his college studies were interrupted by national duty, he served in the Navy for 3 years and then came back to graduate from Swarthmore. Jerry's gifts and insights always had one condition: follow the path of Swarthmore. Study, friendship, conversation, and some moral consideration. And embrace and develop independent thought and mind, and that was it. He was extremely generous in his gifts to the college and also extreme in his modesty. We'd win championships, and Jerry would politely acknowledge the achievement, but never extol the moment. Always move on to something more important, or return to reminding me of the simple code he himself lived: a sporting life of comradeship, alongside a lifelong commitment to the intellect. He bequeathed this balanced vision of Swarthmore athletics to me, and I to Swarthmore students. And now in this ceremony of the past, this gathering for remembrance, let me praise the life, work, and vision of this extraordinary Swarthmore alum. And so, reflecting on a lifetime of sport, a parallel career in academia, and now this honor brings me back to my roots, coming of age in Delaware County, and of course, Swarthmore College, the opportunities afforded by a caring academic community. So I know it's late, but I do have one story, if I'm permitted, so I'll tell it to you. Brad, I hope you're not looking at your watch, but it's 1985, and here our team is now in the NCAA team finals at Washington Lee in Virginia. We had clawed our way into the championship finals, and now it was indeed the final movement. A match that had started at 1 p.m. outdoors, it was now 8 p.m. and we're indoors after multiple rain delays. And it's tied 4-4, our second doubles on court, to determine the outcome, the match in the national championship. Two seniors, Rick and Eric. It then, of course, naturally, goes to 6 games all, and now a tense tiebreaker for the match. I've been on court now for about 7 hours. So I go on court, and we have a brief meeting before the tiebreaker can begin. And now a tennis tiebreaker will last, it's the first team to 7 points. It's brief. So honestly, I really don't know what to tell their guys. I've never been in such a situation, but I give it my best. I said, well, guys, here we are. Let's be sure to play it like we always do. percentage. Safe serves in the court with spin. Return of serve in the court. Just don't go for big heroic shots. So the guys nod respectfully, and I decided to get some water. I need a break after 7 hours of tension. And so I exit the court, and I can see these two Swarthmore students consulting as I leave the court, coming to some sort of consensus on their own. I go in and get the water, but I'm within earshot. And then I hear, boom, a big crack on a loud first serve and applause from the Swarthmore side. Another big serve, boom, more cheering on the Swarthmore side. And I knew, and at the time was secretly pleased, that our guys had eschewed my wise counsel. We're following their path, not playing safe. They were going for broke. I came back to catch match point. Eric, a lefty, hits a big first serve. The return is somehow made, but the ball catches the top of the net. Briefly, it hovers there. Oh, gosh. And then it falls on the other side. The match is over. 1985 NCAA National Championships to Swarthmore. For me, this episode captured the Swarthmore spirits that our students training themselves in a discipline, guided by experienced masters and counselors, given an opportunity in a real-world setting, decide on their own to just take it higher, assume certain risks, ignore, when necessary, an authoritative voice, invoke their own instincts, and act in the world. This is why we play sports at Swarthmore College. I'd like to thank you for your patience in this talk and the committee for selecting me for this honor. I would also like to tell Professor Ward that when it comes time for his retirement dinner, I will be there in the first row with my hand up with a few stories of my own. Thank you very much.
Okay, before we go, I would like to just acknowledge our dining services staff and offices of advancement and alumni relations. It's quite an undertaking to perform what we saw here tonight, and I'm very appreciative. We're very appreciative of all their efforts. Okay, a special thank you to the alums, family, and friends here tonight, and for all those who could not be with us who make Swarthmore College such a special institution. One more round of applause for our inductees.